Welcome to the Tomosi Business Training Series. The basis of these sessions is to support the Tomosi Group staff and management to raise their capabilities and performance. This is also a platform to share our experience with young entrepreneurs making an effort to build their startups in Uganda and across Africa.
This man is the founder of Hyundai. It's a car that this man, zero education, no school. Born under very difficult conditions. We said Korea is 30% arable land, the rest is mountainous, and half of the year it's frozen. This man, no education, he starts a company called Hyundai, and this company is now $16 billion worth. And it makes ships, it makes, important things. But that's not the reason I'm speaking about him. Listen to what he speaks about his mother, so you can know that when we speak of poverty, we're not playing, we're not poor, it is the mindset. He says, back in those days, he's talking about his mother, human feces, they termed human feces night soil, was the primary fertilizer for our dry fields. So even when adults visited their friends or carefree children kicked around an inflated pig bladder, they made sure to relieve themselves at our home so that adding to my mother and father would have a stockpile of fertilizers. This is scary for me. What you think is someone is using it to grow food. Now, my mother thought it was a shame to waste this valuable source of manure. So one day, she roasted beans and told the kids that from now, I'll give you a handful of roasted beans. If you take a pea in my pail, I have put next to Sendong. Sendong is a school where the father of this man was teaching. Then he said, through this creative arrangement, she was able to collect students' urine to use as fertilizers. So really, can someone come from these conditions and create a car called Hyundai? Yes, he can. Because it looks to me that the more resources we have, the less we are prepared to face what the world throws at us. The more nature and God has given us through, this country has, I think, 190 or 200, Stephen, crater lakes. Just crater lakes. Before you talk about Lake Victoria, Lake George, Lake Nile, all those. We have the highest amount of water purified, best water from the highest mountains in the world. But on top of that, God gave us even crater ones. But we buy fish from Netherlands. Anyway, I'm not here to really set your spirit down. But the point is, I found this intriguing. It shows that it's not poverty that keeps people down. It is ingenuity. Flavius Josephus, who I'm quoting in this book very much, he speaks about colonization of Jerusalem after the two brothers fought. There were two brothers. Who remembers those huge names? Hyrcanus and Aristobulus. They are brothers who fought over a kingdom. Those two brothers were descendants of someone called Mattathias. Mattathias, God had used him to chase away the Syrians and reestablished the rule of the children of Israel over Judea. But now the descendants fought, and when they fought, this is what happened. The occasion of our misery, it came on our city because of these two people. By raising a rebellion against one another, now we have lost our liberty. We have become subject to Romans. We are deprived of the country which we had gained by our arms. From Syrians, we have been compelled to restore it to Syrians. In other words, when two people fight, they don't understand what God has given them, they invite the foreigners to take over. The second lesson is how you handle conflict. Listen, people, I have 5 lessons, so I'll stop, hopefully, God willing, on time. This is our second one. Now, remember the sodium and the chloride? These things don't work one in isolation. You have to combine repentance with another thing. You have to combine prayer with working harder. You have to combine education in class of cramming to pass exams with the reality of how does the soil smell. When you combine them, that's how you grow. Okay? So, handling a conflict, for me, I know that there is conflict even in church. Even in church. Too much. People are fighting over the front seat. Titles. In church, Paul and Barnabas are my best example. Remember, Barnabas helped Paul after Paul had been stopped on the road going where? Wasn't it Barnabas who looked after him? Now, Paul has, the Greeks call it paroxysmi, I think, which is paroxysm. That Paul had a violent conflict with who? With his mentor. First I said, that's interesting. It means that even in church, even your mentor, you can actually disagree. That Paul was a human being like me. Who did they have a conflict over? John Mark. You remember the kid who ran away when Jesus was arrested? He left his shirt behind and took off. Who was that? That's John Mark. John Mark is the one who wrote the gospel according to who? According to Mark. Now, the running away has not stopped. He leaves Paul in Pamphylia. He takes off. And now Barnabas is saying, let's come along with John Mark. Paul says, get off. He disappointed me. He's a bad person. Right? But Paul reconciles eventually with John Mark. Because when we read some of his letters, he asks about how he is. He sends him greetings. He reconciles with Barnabas. Do you understand? Now, this is a rule to help you in a conflict, if I can be very quick. In essentials, go for unity. Let us agree as a church, as a fellowship, that the Bible says this. And this is essential. And we must be united on this. Other things which are non-essential, you have liberty to do what you want. You go and eat your chicken and fish. Me, I eat my beef. So what is that to do with my faith? It's non-essential. Give people liberty. Don't oppress them because you are the big person or because you want to make a point. Thirdly, in all things remain charitable. That is how you resolve a conflict. That is how you work with the salt that I mentioned to make a difference. Can I move on? Are you still at that? Okay. Let's go to conflict in marriage. See, this was conflict in church. Now, I put a little word there. Uniformity is not what? Unity. Unity is not what? Now, listen. The reason I was attracted to my wife is because she's different from me. I guess that one of the reasons she's attracted to me is that God has given me these gifts that complement hers. Right? Now, we are not asking to be uniform and to say, in everything. No. I'm speaking to those who are getting married and to those who are already married. Uniformity does not necessarily mean unity. In fact, if two people agree on everything, either one of them is lying or they are not thinking. Yes, because you can't say, omukulu chakobye, nange kyenkoba. No way. Now, some people have misunderstood me quite often in my writing, in my speeches, because I am who I am. What can I do? I kill myself. Unity does not necessarily mean uniformity. But let me tell you why marriage is important. Because everything that has happened in the world or will ever happen to you, the choice of who you decide to spend the rest of your life with defines whether you'll be depressed or a thief or you'll die young. The choice of a long life partner, and the choice is not made when we are no, it's made much before. Much before. Much before. in your prayer, in your search, in your understanding, in your calculation of, who you are, and then you said, I have made a decision. Because marriage is so strong as a foundation for the change, the pathway to change, the enemy attacks it every day. The enemy seeks to destroy those marriages so that now there is no ground for building anything. Now, by saying that uniformity is not doesn't mean that essentials. They are essentials. There are things she's forgiven me, there are things I've forgiven her, because it is important that we serve something higher than us. There can be conflict in church, there can be conflict in the realm of marriage, but there is also conflict where? What you see in this picture, the people of Buganda call it okubika, abichiro olusuku. Okubika is to announce death. When you go to a matoke plantation and cut and leave something hanging like that and walk away, you're announcing death to the plantation because you quarter like being kwatirich. You want the matoke, but you don't want to look after the plantation. Now, Samuel Malay came and spent a day with me, and he told me that. He said, your people are announcing death for the plantation because they should trim and make things happen. When you leave empumumpu, ani amanye empumumpu? Huh? I don't want to take a lot of time. Empumumpu means that's little flower from the matoke. If you don't cut empumumpu from the matoke, it will eat up the size of your bunch. So you must trim it and make sure that it looks very good. To love your work is a fundamental basis for growth. Right? So sometimes I work so hard and I get little results. And I question myself. And then I say, but if I worked so little, would I be even happy? I would rather continue working hard regardless. Because that means one day, Katonda aja kundaba, aja kundamu. Okay. Now, let me also show you. What does Malay teach me? Take amwe bijimusa. You go get the manure, trim the plant very well, remove empumumpu, don't kubika ulusuku sore, and make sure that this is what you do. Ebijimusa really means fertilizer. I'm trying to make sure that we can balance Luganda and English. And then he also taught me the design. You don't just put ebijimusa, you make a design around the stem. You lay the soil. After the soil, you put the banana leaves. You don't leave four different types of stems. You leave only 2 so that you can now expect a better matoke. That's because you love what you do. We want to love Toyota Prius before we can love this where we come from. That's part of the danger of young people. Okay? Now, kino bakiyitachi laba oluganda banange how it is very interesting. Kiri kibadde okubika, kino okubika. There's a bit of change. You mulch. This is mulching. The other one was announcing death. So there is a very small difference between announcing death and saving the matoke. Very small. Together, people, can I proceed? Okay. You must use the right tools. Karabaganda yobajita fologo. Na ye fologo chitegeza foko. Foko. We cannot pronounce fork. Huh? Fork. I think that's how fork. We call it forogo. Okay? Now, ani amanyi what what's the place I stayed in when I finished university, in one room and a banco bed? I forget. It's just after Mengo. Lunguja. Ani amanyi lunguja kye kitegeeza? Kitegeeza ki? Kale, tetulina sawa. Lunguja means longojane. Hey, ova mu kibuga Kampala sawa emu otuuka lunguja. Ogenda mulongojane. N'otuukayo esawa nga zigenze sendefuuka lunguja. So, anyway, forogo, the meaning of that tool I'm trying to tell you you must use the right tools in the banana plantation.
Enjoyed this session? We would like to hear from you. Please give your feedback using the Google form attached or email us at info@tomosigroup.ug and visit our website on www.tomosigroup.ug or tune into the Tomosi Business Series on Facebook and YouTube to enjoy more of our weekly training podcasts. You can also visit our offices at Tomosi Business Park, Luzira, Port Bell Road, or call 0789 901 356.